This recording is about the initial concept development for the Module A simulation for the biodomain. So this is one of the learning activities to fit into the larger context of the Research Park App. The sim is about this. This is the first sim that is engaged by the biodomain learner, and in the lower right-hand corner there's a image from the previous web presentation recording of how the app in general is organized. So this would be like activity 1 in the Bio Center. So the learner comes into the Research Park lobby and then comes into the Bio Center, and this is their first simulation that they're going to do, and it incorporates all kinds of different media types, so text and images and video and animations and assessments and charts and diagrams and models and whatever is needed to carry out this challenge. So I'm going to take a quick look at my understanding of the challenge and the sequences where we are right now, functions, a little bit about the environments, and the interface going forward. So this insulin challenge is, here's our problem statement and our challenge statement. And this is, I've taken this from the latest version of the script that I have from Tony. So this tells us where we're going at the end of the sim. And we have to be able to execute this challenge statement then about what we need to make. So we have a product that we're going to make. So we have quite a bit of less material that we have to learn. We have things that we have to do in phases along the way to identify that we know each of these steps, and then we're going to make this product in the end. So as of the discussion that we're having right now about the initial, the beginning of the sim, then this is my visualization of this concept in terms of a flow board. So it starts at the top where we launch the application, and the blocks that are in light blue, the two at the top and the one in the bottom right, these are input-output blocks. And I'm going to break these down by color into individual function in just a moment and go through those. So we launch the app, we log into the server, we arrive in the reception lobby, we go into the biolab because we can, we check our mailbox and receive instructions from the teacher. We go into our work area, we go to our desk, we use our workstation, our computer screen, and we make some choices about activities. So we select an activity, we're going to do this insulin challenge, we're going to go as far as phase 1 where we make a feedback model, submit it, and then quit. Again, the rest of the model now is grayed out. The only blocks I'm talking about are the 3 blocks that are in blue, and these are the input-output controls to the sim where the learner is interacting with the back end by logging in. So yes, this is me, and as a result of that, then there are capabilities that the sim does for that particular learner set by the instructor. So there's an instructor's console where the instructor has controls to use to determine what the learner can and can't do. And there is also a messaging capacity so that the instructor can make messages, whether those broadcast to everyone in their class or to individual students. Those are set up in the back end using our console that's outside of the simulation. So then what happens is the learner, it comes into some space. This is a 3-dimensional space, very engaging. This is a large research facility, and we come into the lobby. There's different reasons why we would have a lobby and things that people could do in the lobby in terms of information to interact with. And then we go from the lobby to our entrance to our biolab. Now we go in here because we can. So our instructor has given us access in the console to be able to come in here. So we come into the biolab, and the first thing we do is we check our mailbox. Now maybe we have some other metaphor, but for right now let's just say we're going to check our mailbox when we come in, and we're going to receive messages. So those messages are going to give us instructions about what we're supposed to be doing during this session that we're in the space. Next, we go into our work area. So this is just an example of a 3D model that I grabbed from a site that has lots of 3D models. I'm not proposing that this is our 3D model, but I am thinking that we want this to be highly engaging. So we come into our 3D workspace, and we know that the first thing that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to go over to our desk. So over here in the upper right hand corner, we go over to our desk where we have our computer monitor and other electronic items that we might interact with. So we're going to navigate over there, and once we get over there, then we're going to use our workstation. As soon as we start using our workstation, our view changes. So now we're looking full screen at our computer monitor, and we're going to be working with the lesson materials. So these green blocks in the flow board show what would be the starting sequence for any domain for any session. So whether we're in activity 1 or activity 4, it would always start the same way. And that is, we would come into the lobby, we would go into the biolab or manufacturing or go into ICT, whatever, and we would get whatever instructions had been left for us by the teacher. Then we would go into our work area and we would start by using our workstation screen. And that's where we're typically going to be getting lesson materials and other kinds of instructions and challenge information for whatever kind of a session we're supposed to be doing in that given sim. So then we have basically 2 choices at this point in our beginning work on this sim. We can either begin work on the insulin challenge or do something else. So right now we don't really have any definition at all or discussion about what something else is. We might want to be able to go explore other accessible areas of the biolab. We might want to or need to go to supporting activities. So maybe we have some other learning activities that we need to do if we're not quite ready, because this is a block that we can come back to in the flowchart. So there are some other activities we can decide to do from our computer screen, but let's say that we're going to go into the insulin challenge. So now in our challenge, this is short and sweet. We have the introduction, so we have the anticipatory set, we have the information that we need, we have our challenge statement in front of us. We're provided with lesson materials. Those could be text, images, charts, video. We're going to work with those materials. We're going to watch video. I'm guessing we probably have some kind of objective assessment that we can do here in terms of questions that we're needing to answer. And when we're done with that, then we're going to really demonstrate our understanding of this beginning material that we worked with by creating a feedback model. So we're going to use a modeling tool. We're going to create a feedback model, and when we're done, we're going to submit that. And in the process of making that model, we're also going to be making comments either in the model or maybe we submit a lab report with it. So we can work on that iteratively. Perhaps this is like one class period chunk of time. I'm not sure what's in mind yet or how long this is going to take, but if this were one period of instruction, then we would have gone through the intro, we would have created a feedback model, we would submit that model, and then we have a couple choices. We can quit and save and leave the session, which means we're going to jump out of the sim entirely, or we can come back to our workstation, our desktop, if you will, and at our desktop we have some choices. We could maybe do some other kinds of activities that we have that are available for us, extra learning, expanded learning, whatever might be there. Or maybe we just leave our workstation, we get up and move, and we can go look at other parts of the lab that might be accessible, things that we can explore. So when we go to the other parts of the lab, we could do that in very much a spatial sense where we actually get up and navigate and move around, or we could pull up our map from our interface and identify those places that are highlighted that we can actually go to, that our instructor has given us access to, and click on there and immediately go to those spaces and explore whatever there might be. These other supporting activities, they may also be somewhere else. So perhaps there's an area in the lobby, just off the lobby, that's a training area. And I can go into this training area, and maybe there are things that I can do there that don't specifically pertain to this lesson, but definitely pertain to the workplace, being a biotechnologists. So maybe there's things related to human resources that I could read and answer questions on, and watch videos, and ethics, whatever. So the range of possibilities are that if I finish, especially if I find this to be an easy lesson and I finish, then there are other engagements that I can do. So if this is being used in a regular classroom setting, then there's expanded learning for an advanced learner. Also, this could be where I access remediation if I'm really having some difficulty, whether it's using the sim itself or with the content that I'm having some kind of problem with. So the next step is to form up a work in progress, very crude prototype, and do some navigating. And some things that are considerations that are in front of me right now, and I'd like to get feedback from the rest of the team on, are the things that are going to be impacting what those criteria are. So for the platform being the hardware that we're using, we know that the installed base resolution, the most common, lowest common denominator screen resolution for us to use in education is still 1024 by 768. That may seem extremely low resolution to you, but that is the minimum resolution that we should be working with. So we should not be designing for a larger screen size than that. We know that this app needs to play embedded in the learning management system in the web page. And that means then that when the entire learning management system, when that web page is open on 1024 by 768, the actual window that's available for an embedded media to go into a content window is quite a bit smaller. So we're going to need to determine what window we're going to work with that's going to be available for us in the LMS. And then that's going to be an important consideration for us in terms of the size of the simulation and how much of that size we can devote to interface. When we're using the app in the learning management system in a web page, we have a keyboard and a mouse. So our interaction is completely different than, for instance, when we're using the app on the iPad, which is multi-touch. And a really simple but critical example is with the mouse. When I roll my cursor over an object that is a hyperlink or has a tooltip or whatever, mouse rollover is recognized. So it's going to change states, or it's going to give me a tooltip or whatever. There is no such thing as a hover, as a mouse over on the iPad. And there's quite a difference in interaction between multi-touch, using more than one finger to interact as a pointer on the iPad, and using just the single pointer of the mouse. So we need to think about, okay, what kind of interactions are we going to have that are going to work for both of those conditions? So then learner skill is another important consideration about this interface. So we have two basic ways that we can control movement. We can have a point and click movement where the learner just looks into the display to where they want to go in the environment, and then they left click with the mouse or tap with their finger on the iPad, and then that's where the camera, you as the learner, that's where you go to. That's compared to using game controls, whether it's mouse look or arrow keys or WASD keys or even a game controller. Those are two completely different experiences. One is very simple and easy to use, but really off-putting for anybody that has any gameplay experience at all. So that's a discussion that we're going to need to have about how we want to deal with that. And then learner skill about interaction modes. So a learner that has not spent much time working with a keyboard and mouse but is familiar with their multi-touch device will find it a little bit clumsy to work with the mouse and the keyboard, and vice versa. So we need to think about quick adoption, ways that it's easy for the learner to attain a very high skill level in terms of what the requirements are to interact with the media. That's more important at this point, in my opinion anyway, than the sexiness of the controls and the interface. This has got to work for the least capable learner with the least amount of experience. So all of that's dated then. Our user interface, GUI conventions are, we need to work with the window. That's going to be, the largest window will be the content window that will be embedded in the LMS. We need to be thinking about every UI GUI object is something that has to be able to work with multi-touch, and we need to be designing for completely novice learners. So then if I were to just go through a bullet list of this is what I think that we're working on right now in terms of what this initial sim is going to do that we want to see and experience in our prototype. The teacher is going to be able to control the access using a control panel. The teacher is going to be able to send messages. Then the learner is going to navigate through the environment. The learner is going to receive those messages. The learner is going to make choices about activities to do. The learner is going to complete this first session, which is phase 1, which is making the model. And then the learner can explore other available resources. And then the teacher is going to assess that model that the learner created and then provide feedback. So that's my initial projection to all of you. This is my understanding of where I think we are, and I look forward to having you give me feedback about that and let me know, clarify where I might be off base, and bring up anything that we need to think about that's not in these slides.